Hello, everybody. This is Danny Weisfeld with another guitar lesson. Today, some tips on how to play songs by ear. Remember you go into this situation where somebody calls out a song and there's that one guy that starts playing it right away and you always wanted to do it too. So it's not a given gift from a divine spirit. It's something you can learn how to do. There's a few tricks that you just have to be aware of the sounds, and you can master this very easy. You do need to practice, but it becomes very easy. This lesson, once again, is custom tailored for my friend, colleague, soulmate, brother, Seth Brightman from New Jersey, where he has this annual gig he has to take care of, that he's kind of the music director, acoustic guitar player, and one of the 4 or 5 vocalists. He gets a songbook of like 80 songs, and he saw that he's really busy at looking at the chords instead of seeing what's going on with the band and singing and smiling and having a good time. So you don't really have to memorize all these songs, you can play them by ear. So let's give it a shot. I never explained this thing online. What we're going to do today is talk about the easiest situation. Just take a C major scale, and we're going to talk about songs that remain in that scale, because then there's modulations and song shifts, and then it becomes more complicated. So we're just going to look at the most basic idea about this. So once again, C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. Now every scale has its own chords. Every note of the scale, you build a chord off that note. The most basic chords are triad chords because they're built from 3 notes. They're built from the first, the third, and the fifth of a note. For instance, if I take C, so the notes in the C chord will be the 1, the C, the 3, which is an E, because it's 1, 2, 3, and the 5, which is a G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So C, E, G is going to give me a C major chord. Now if you take the 1, 3, 5 off every note on the C major scale, the notes of that whole scale will be, the chords of that scale will be C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B half diminished. Back to C. So today we're going to learn how to listen by ear to these chords and without having to look into the songbook. And this is true basically for every major scale. It doesn't just have to be C scale. You have to find your root, or the tonica as we say. Once I know what the root is, so the other chords I can call them by degrees. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh. Now every degree has like its own tonality, its own color, and we're going to learn how to listen to those tonalities, the colors. So let's start with the root, the first degree, as we say, the tonica. This note is kind of like the gravity field of a scale. Every time you play a song, it always wants to go back like a yo-yo. It wants to go back to that root. Now if you listen to like a song, there's like always a tension pulling you back to that root. Like for instance, if I play the scale, it's like you can't stop there. So this is your first homework. Listen to songs and try to listen for that root note, that like cloud over the whole song that is always pulling back to that note. You always have to feel when you're going back there. For instance, With or without you, with or without you, I'm gonna live. With or without you. It always falls back, it pulls you in there. So that's one thing you listen to. The second, that's the first degree, the root. The second color we have in a scale is called the dominant, or the fifth degree. So if I'm in C major scale, the dominant will be the G. What's special about the dominant, it's like the complete opposite in its tension of the root. If everything always wants to go back to the root, the dominant is like, the root is where you feel in balance, you feel equality, you're back to perfection. The dominant is the exact opposite. It's the maximum tension in the song. And that tension causes a feeling that you want to go back and fall into the root. For instance, and I'm baby now, shake it up. Every time you have that dominant, you feel that tension and you want to go back and fall to that root. So that's another part of your homework. Try and listen to that dominant chord, the one that is holding all the tension and like gathers the whole song and pushes you back to the root. And a lot of times you'll see that in a C major scale, after the G chord, you'll want to fall back to C. Now the last color, or the last tonality we'll speak of, is called the subdominant, or the fourth degree, which comes right before the fifth. How do we know how to spot that? It's very easy. Because right now we're talking about three tones, the root and the dominant. So there's one more, which is a subdominant, and it's actually the tone that's in between the two. Sometimes it feels like a layup, like an assist towards the dominant. It leads you into the dominant. Right? You feel that you're moving away from the root, and it's pushing you towards the dominant. So obviously, to nail the subdominant, or the fourth degree, you have to have the root, the first degree nailed really good. Then you have to practice listening to the dominant, and then this will become obvious. All right, so now we got three chords out of the 7 that we learned how to listen to. So basically now we're talking about the minor chords and this half diminished dude. So every major chord has a parallel minor chord to it. Why? Because if we take C and A minor, we have two notes that are the same. We have C and E that are in both chords. So this is the C major, and this is the A minor. So always we have a major and an equivalent minor, which is 1.5 steps below. So the equivalent to C is A minor. The equivalent to F is D minor. The equivalent to G is E minor. So basically, if C was our root, A minor will be the minor root. If we had G as the dominant, E minor will be the minor dominant. And if we had F as a subdominant, the fourth degree, so the second degree will be the minor subdominant. And you can also hear it. For instance, this was a root. So same thing if I play it minor. if I'm in an A minor scale, which is the A minor scale and the C major scale are the exact same notes. We just start them in a different place. This is the C scale. This is an A minor scale. It's the same notes started at a different place. So in A minor, the A will be the minor root. E minor will be the dominant of that scale, the dominant minor, and the DM will be the subdominant minor. So basically what we have is three colors. We have the root, the subdominant, and the dominant. And then whether it sounds happy and shiny and sunny or sad and dark, then we know if it's a major dominant or a minor dominant, a major subdominant or a minor subdominant. And then the last dude is this guy, which is very distinct. You hear it's not a major, it's not a minor, so it's got to be this. Plus it has a subdominant category in it because it shares two notes with the D minor. You can go, or you can go. You can basically interchange the two. I hope that wasn't too fast, and I hope it was helpful. Basically, what I recommend to do now is go to your songbook, check out their first song, see what scale it's in. Usually it starts, the first chord is 80%, that'll be the scale of your song, if it's a C major and A minor. Then write on the side all the chords that belong to that song, so you have all the degrees next to it. And then start listening in those songs that you know. Oh, this is the root, oh, this is the dominant, this is the subdominant. Start learning. Practice listening to those sounds. It takes a long time. I've been doing it for over 20 years, but it gets natural. It becomes intuitive. Within a few months, you can already start intuitively going to the correct chords. Now, in the beginning, you might not memorize the songs by heart. You might know like how they start, how they go along, but after you played them with the songbook a few times and you practice listening to these sounds, within a very short time you won't need to look at the chords anymore. I hope this was helpful. If you have any more questions, let me know and I'll make some more clips. I love you. Later.